So we're moving on to day 2. So let's move on to our next lesson. So today we're going to be deciding or determining if a decimal is irrational or not. If a decimal is irrational or not, or I would say just irrational. Okay, how do we do that? So simple. Trust me, you just have to understand a few basic things. It's irrational. A decimal is rational if it repeats and if it terminates. Okay, R and R. R goes together. So rational. A rational decimal is something that repeats and terminates. So it means it gives you a repeating pattern and sometimes it stops at a certain number. So that's a rational decimal. So something that's non-repeating means there's no pattern that repeats. So non-repeating. And non-terminating decimal is irrational. Simple. All right, so rational, I repeat, rational is something that repeats and terminates, and irrational is something that not repeats and non-terminating one. Okay, here comes the first example. If I say 0.77777, so on, is it a rational decimal or is it irrational? So it's irrational. Why? Because it repeats. So it's a rational number or rational decimal, either ways you want to call that. Next, I have a few more examples. Let's say I have 0.73856 and ... Is it a rational decimal or irrational? First of all, does it repeat? 7385669. No, there's nothing that repeats. It doesn't repeat. Does it terminate? It's non-terminating. It's not stopping either, so it's not a rational decimal. Instead, it's going to be irrational decimal. Okay, I have a few more examples on this. This was just finding decimal if it's irrational or not. Another one is to check if a square root is rational or not. Rational or irrational. How to check for a square root? First of all, what do you mean by a square root? Square root. So try understanding a pattern. So if I say 1 square, it's 1 multiplied by itself, it's 1. If I put 2 square, it means 2 by itself is 4. 3 square. 3 times 3, it's 9. 4 square. 4 times 4, it's 16. 5 square, it's 25. 6 square, it's 36. So square means if you multiply a number by itself, it gives you a number. So basically, all of these numbers are called perfect squares. Okay, now this is just a normal way. That's how it looks like. I don't know if you ever seen another symbol which is more similar to division symbol. This symbol is called root. So whenever it's root, it's basically undoing the square. So if I say square root of 16, I'm asking you what number multiply itself gives you 16. So you can look at the list. What is that? So 16 is this one here. So we are going back from 16 to this number. So what's the base number? It's 4. If I ask you square root of 25, a number multiply itself, what is that? What number multiply itself gives you 25? It's 5. So how do we decide if the root is a rational root or irrational? How to decide rational or irrational with the roots? Okay, trust me, so simple. If the number under the radical is a perfect square, it's a rational number. If it's not a perfect square, it means it's irrational. So it means if that number is actually one of these numbers from the perfect square list, it's a rational number. Like let's say I have few examples like 144. I have square root of 36. I have square root of 108. I have square root of 54. 144, is it a perfect square? Yes, what is the number? So 12 times 12 gives you 144. So if the number inside the radical is a perfect square, it is a rational number. Okay, 36 square root, what is the number? It's 6, because I know 6 times 6 gives you 36. Is it a perfect square? Yes, it is a perfect square. So is it a rational number? Yes. So every perfect square number would be a rational number. 108, is that a perfect square? It's not, so it means it's going to be irrational number. Square root of 54, is that a perfect square? It's not, so it means it's another one for irrational number. So kind of quick review. So something that repeats and terminates is irrational. Something that's not repeating, non-terminating is irrational. And when it comes to square roots, so all perfect squares going to be rational number, and all non-perfect squares going to be irrational number. Yeah, so this is pretty much all. I hope you understand. If you don't, pause the video, go back and check. And yeah, this is pretty much all. Thank you guys.